Welcome back to my kitchen. This video should be exciting. Remember the sugar beets? And I sprayed these off really well when I picked them up for two reasons. One, now I don't have to wash them. I can just process them up. They're nice and clean and use them. What I'm going to do, I have this pot. I have a bigger aluminum one, but I feel for doing this process you should try to have something that's non-reactive. So stainless steel or glass, enamel, that kind of thing. So I'm going to use this stainless steel pot. This is the biggest one I have. I'm going to grate my beets with this box grater. I'm going to measure it and weigh it, and then we're going to process it in this pot to get the sugar out of the sugar beets. I'll show you every step and every measurement. First, to grate the beets with the largest holes on this box grater. So here's the grated beets. I'm going to measure it out with this jug, as I said. So I'm going to grate up some beets, and then I will bring you back for the weighing portion. With the jug being full just by throwing it in, I'm going to pack them down. Because if I pack them down, then I'm sure I can get the exact, pretty much the exact same amount in every jug full. I thought about it after I started. Some of the stuff in the peel, or maybe you didn't get the top right off, whatever, there could be impurities that would taint the flavor. Using a regular vegetable peeler like this, they are rather easy to peel. And so, except for in the indentations like this, you get a really clean sugar beet, and you haven't taken off much of the beet itself, just barely the outside surface. Got my jug full. So let's turn that on and weigh it. 1,052 grams, or 2 pounds 5 ounces. Now what I'm going to do, I'll put this in here, because at first I'm going to put in an equal amount of water and grated beets. So it's not covered the beets. I'm going to put in one more jug full. I think I'll be able to put in one more jug full of beets and then another jug full of water. So that would be 1.5 times as much water as there would be grated beets. Full to the brim. I weighed the jug and it was 5 ounces. So a jug full was pretty much exactly 2 pounds. I've got 4 pounds of beets, grated beets in here, and 3 jugs of water. But I'm going to have to leave the cover off now and let it boil down some. I had the burner on. I turned it on when I started put the first batch in, and it was boiling by the time I got the second batch grated. And it rises up, so I can't put the cover on. I have the burner here. Put it right down on low. And I'll keep checking on this. It'll probably go 2 or 3 hours. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let it go on a low simmer until all of this just starts to fall to pieces. I removed some of the water and put it in here. I need to save it because it will have some of the syrup from the beets already leached out into it. And as you can see, it's down a little bit now, so I'm going to put the cover on, slant it up like that, and like I said, keep checking on it. I let this simmer here for 2 hours, a total of 2.5 hours really, from the time it started to boil. When it's boiling, all of the pieces of beetroot floats to the top, which is, I don't know, nice. And then the other question is, did that keep some of the sugars from coming out of the beet? Well, we'll find out. I have another pot here, a smaller one, with a fine mesh strainer. I'm going to dip out all of the beet pulp now. Go that far and I'll press the water out of it. And then I'll put it back here in a bowl. Now there shouldn't be enough left in there to fill up this colander, so I'll pick this up and just pour it through. pot left in there. Now for this process, technically I could bring this down and put it on the stove and let it evaporate. But for the purposes of doing the video, I'm going to do it on the stove right here. I'm going to turn this on low. And put that back in there. Now this needs to evaporate off until it's down to a thick syrup. My idea with putting this back on the second time is to see if I got all the sugar out in the first batch, or is there quite a bit left. So I'm going to evaporate this down and separate it. Then I'll evaporate the water out of this one down and make it in 2 batches and compare. There, now I have 2 pots on. This one is boiling down, and this one is the second run of the grated beets. Now what I want to do you see the coloring in that. It's actually particles, and that's their color. Once I boil that down now, this water will get darker and darker as it goes. Well, that is the sugar particles in the water. So we'll be back. I don't know how long this will take, so I can't tell you how long it's going to be. Now that it's boiled way down, it was up here, got it boiled down to there, I'm going to transfer it over to this smaller pot. Since the pot's so small, I think I'm going to put it on this back burner, which is a much smaller burner. I've been having this at a boil to get the water to evaporate faster, and now that it's boiling down and of course it's getting more concentrated, it's starting to really foam up. So I add the temperature up here. I'm going to turn it down now to a 3. Guess I'll have to watch it now for another little while. It's thickening up, and even down on the medium low it's starting to foam up. Starting to hold to the spoon now. Okay, so I turned aside for maybe 30 seconds. Then you hear that. I had some starting to stick right there. It's getting thick, and you can see some of the molasses stuck right on to the head of the spoon. But I wanted a little thicker than that. So now I've got the burner turned right down, almost as far as it can go. And let that simmer for another little while. I'm going to let this cool down now and see how thick it is when it's cool. It tastes just like molasses, but this I think is a little sweeter. I have molasses there that I compared the taste with. This what I have here is the second batch. Remember, I put the grated beets back in the pot, and I boiled it for a while, and I let it soak overnight. So we'll see now what happens with this. This is what you're left with as far as pulp goes. If you add a press, you could press more water out of this, and of course then get more syrup. The commercial beet processors, they press this into pellets for animal feed. So I assume that if you were doing this yourself, you could dry this out and use it for animal feed yourself. Feed it to pretty much any animal. This is what I got from the second lot. Not as much as the first lot, but it's significant. So when you're processing your sugar beets, you need to boil them in 2 lots of water. Now I'm going to pour it in here. This is where I put the other batch. I use a spatula to wipe this out. Getting it entirely clean will be difficult because this is rather thick. It's not bad, that's more than a cup full. And when this layer now cools, I'll show you what it's like. Here's the final product. I think I'll have to come a little closer. The molasses that I get from the store, usually I feel it has a slight burn taste on it. This has a caramel taste on it. The burn taste is not surprising because you have a very narrow window of getting it to the right thickness and it going too far and sticking onto the bottom and burning. But very good. Like I say, there's a slight caramel taste on it, and otherwise it tastes like molasses. I'm going to try and see how I like it as a sweetener. That way it's good. So a couple things. One is you boil it for 2 hours in the fresh water. Extract all that water, then boil it in another set of water for an hour. You can let it sit for a while if you want and extract that water. Don't boil down your water until after you've got the 2 batches done. That way you can do it all at once and use less energy, of course. You can put it on fast boil until the liquid is fairly concentrated. I done it on a lower temperature and it took me all day, but it didn't have to. It could have been done in what took 6-7 hours. Could have been done in say 2. The other thing is the peel. Peel the beets first. On top of the beet, sometimes you'll get a bit of green, so that's another thing that you'll be peeling off that could affect the taste of your final product. This was 4 pounds of beets. If I could get beets to grow to their potential, then that would be 2 beets. So yeah, going forward, it's only a matter of getting the beets grow to their potential, and we've got it figured out how to get it to this point. If I find out how to get it to a sugar, then I'll do a video about that. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit the like and leave me a comment.